Welcome to the Digital Dreaming off the Gridiron Podcast. It is a beautiful Thursday before Thursday Night Football. On our last episode, we both called it Trash Night Football because that's what it's been so far. But today's matchup actually entails some actual playoff implications because the San Francisco 49ers take on the Seattle Seahawks for first place in the NFC West Division tonight in CenturyLink Field in Seattle, Washington. Or Renton, I forget where it is. Anyways, so, what are you looking forward to tonight's matchup, Cortez Branch Jr.?
I think tonight, I mostly want to see what Brock does to bounce back,
Mm-hmm.
after a tough loss.
Okay.
And I don't place too much stock, on too much of the other stuff that's going on. I mean, we talked a little bit about it in the last episode,
Yeah.
but I just don't see I don't with firings going on in the NFL right now. I don't see our guys, you know, losing too many games, and if they do, they got to know that they're going to be out of it too.
100%.
The
100%. Now,
Seahawks are not a team to take lightly right now.
mm-hmm.
You know, I wouldn't take them lightly. I think that Geno Smith does have a chip on his shoulder, and he has for years. And
Yeah.
I think that the best way to go about doing it for the 49ers is say, hey, we're definitely want to beat them into the ground.
Yeah. I mean, that's literally what the Cardinals did. The Cardinals took 49ers football's formula and they basically out 49ers on last Sunday. They basically pounded the rock. They played physical. That's what you always keep preaching on. Physical football is what wins football games, and that's the truth. I don't know who they're running. I keep forgetting the running back's name, but anyways, but Geno Smith can obviously,
Mason?
he goes, no, it's not Mason, it's someone else. The way back on the Seahawks, I forgot his name.
Oh, the Seahawks.
Um,
I don't remember
yeah,
his name.
Seahawks running back. I forgot his name. Yeah, he's actually so. Zach Charbonnet. That's his name. Zach
Yeah,
Charbonnet.
Charbonnet. Okay.
Charbonnet. Really, really good physical runner. Really kind of like a little bowling ball. You know what I mean? So like he's really, really like he's like a pit bull, just kind of like a bowling ball who can just like hit the A gap, hit the B gap. And so what the 49ers really have to do today is they really have to assert their will from the onset of the game, and really they have to basically. I need to see a lot more defensively, and especially in the second half. I need to see, and most importantly, I need to see much better execution in the red zone because that's really been the Achilles heel this year for the 49ers. I mean, if they want to be a team
Yes,
that's going to
yes,
make a.
it
Yes, good.
has.
Yes, it has. Yes. And if they want to be a team that's going to make a deep playoff run, the team that we all come to know and love now as like a legitimate football contender, the 49ers are going to have to basically clean it up, in the red zone, lock down defense, not get gashed, basically tighten all those issues up. And obviously, and obviously Bob Saleh is on the market, so he's going to be taking off the rest of this year. Kyle texted him, so I'm not sure Brandon Staley, Nick Sorensen, if you remove them right now at this point in the season, if Bob Saleh can come back and just reignite this team. I think obviously you probably need a full offseason for the defensive coordinator to kind of really install his schemes and really kind of get accustomed to his personnel. So I'm just going to sit here and say, I really
I
need
mean,
to
I can
see
see
Nick
it
Sorensen.
happening in today's society. In today's society, I
Yeah.
can see it happening all day. I can see them saying,
Well,
"Look, man, like we're trying to win now, and we're better with you around. You don't have a
right.
job, so
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, to that point, I was actually hoping that Bob Sala would have just been like, "Hey, Kyle," and Kyle pick up the phone. And Nick Sorensen is definitely a great special teams coordinator. He's proven to be capable, and really, our special teams has been lacking too this year. So I would have no problem if we move Nick back to special teams, and then we obviously make Bob Sala the defensive coordinator, and Brandon Staley can still keep his assistant head coaching title. But I think really though what it comes down to, I mean, like Larry Krueger said it best on his podcast. For any 49ers fan who listens to Larry Krueger KMBR, he said, it's not about the X's and O's, it's about the Jimmy and the Joes, it's about the personnel. The players have to go out there and execute.
yes,
At a
they
certain
do.
point, Devondre Bob Sala is. I'm just gonna quote Larry Krueger. Bob Sala coming back as offense, he's not going to make Devondre Campbell good. Bob Sala coming back,
No,
sorry, in this defense, he's not going to make Isaac Adams faster. Bob
no.
Sala is not going to make that front four outside Nick Bosa fearsome again. That comes down to effort, energy, and like we talked about last time, sense of urgency. So if the 49ers and Nick Bosa and everyone is saying that this is a must-win game, they got to actually come out the gate and show us that they truly feel this is a must-win game. And that comes out, and that starts with, asserting your will on offense and defense, basically, pounding the rock, going back to Mason, going back to play action, Brock not trying to be too creative, taking what the defense gives them, and basically making magic happen with playing traditional, sound, fundamental style football. And that is what I think will be the key to winning this game. So, whichever team basically comes out and is able to assert their will and is able to basically, put up the points. Seattle has proved that they're very capable offense this year with a very good defense with a young first year head coach with Mike McDonald, who was the defensive coordinator of the Ravens last year, who also smashed 49ers in the mouth when they came here. I was actually there for that game in December of last year. So, this is a team that, this is the 49ers first time seeing this team. So it's not the same Seahawks that Brock has just, dominated the last 2 seasons where he's, and just like the Cardinals, Brock dominated the last 2 seasons up till Sunday. So I'm really looking forward. I'm really looking to the 49ers veterans. That means George Kittle. That means Brandon Ayuk. That means Deebo Samuel. And that means Trent Williams. That means Fred Warner. That means Nick Bosa. I'm looking to the core kind of group of guys to basically, establish, the leadership, because I think that's been kind of absent too in these losses. There hasn't really been a leader to kind of really corral the troops. And I think that's kind of evident with the fact that with Trent and Brandon both miss BA this camp, a lot of the guys in the locker room complained that, hey, we're kind of missing that voice in the locker room. So, it comes down to leadership. It comes down to, start setting the tone. And that's what's going to get. Whichever team sets the tone first is going to win this game. So 49ers, you're going on the road, short week. You already got punched in the mouth and you basically got embarrassed, at home. So this is literally a must-win game because after this week, the Chiefs come to town. The undefeated 5-0 Kansas City Chiefs, mind you. So, if we are to salvage anything left in the season, it's going to come down to a team being 3-3 leading the division, opposed to a team 2-4, probably in the fighting for a wild card spot at the bottom of the division, opposed to an actual division leader like the Chiefs or the Vikings or any of these other great juggernaut teams in either conference. So, with that said, I'm looking forward to hopefully a good game tonight. If I'm going to do a prediction, I'll probably go 49ers 27, Seahawks 24. Am I confident in that pick? Absolutely not. Based on how the 49ers have played against the division so far, I can't say that, because they've lost those games by that same margin, by 3 points or less. So 49ers have to come out. They have to assert their will. They are the team that was favored to go to the Super Bowl this year and win it. At least out of the NFC. So, the 49ers, if you are that team, it starts now, and comes down to, getting this W. So 49ers 27-24. And we'll see what happens there. What's your pick for tonight, partner?
I mean, I wasn't gonna go too far away from that. I was gonna say, I was gonna say 16-24.
49ers. Okay, let's go, baby. Let's get it. All righty. So now let's talk about, it's funny because, I'm actually actually, no, we were just going to get into it. Fuck everything else. I want to talk about Raw, bombshell Raw, and I want to talk about previewing SmackDown tomorrow. Obviously, this was the belt I should have probably wore on our last episode with the man's name, The Rock, on the big gold. But starting off Raw, CM Punk comes out. He cuts a promo saying that, he doesn't know when he said he's beaten up, he's tired. He's basically battered and bruised, and he doesn't know when he's going to see the fans again. And essentially, then at that point, Seth comes out. You and I had said, we see a Seth CM Punk promo, but it looks like they're basically getting CM Punk out of the picture. Maybe he needs a break. Maybe he actually is banged up. Maybe he wants to spend more time with his wife and kids. Maybe he just said he wants to be part time. I don't know. But basically, then Seth comes out. He cuts a promo on Bronson Reed, saying that he's going to end Bronson Reed's career. So now, what is your take? Kind of, because you and I basically saw Seth, and all the fans saw the collision course between Seth and CM Punk, and that's going to happen. Maybe they're saving it for WrestleMania. I don't know. But what is your take on kind of now CM Punk removing himself from the picture, Seth basically coming back in and channeling on Bronson Reed? Where do you see that heading, and where do you see kind of the future for the rest of this year and obviously for next year through WrestleMania kind of line up for our megastars on Raw?
Well, I would start by saying that CM Punk removing himself is probably due to his age and
Mm-hmm.
that he did take a lot of abuse. And that match.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
you kind of want him to be able to even if it's more kayfabe than it is reality, it allows them to stories without having CM Punk go straight for the title. And you don't really want to have CM Punk going straight for the title right now.
100%. Now you don't want him straight for the title. You and I talked about that. I thought they were going to put him straight for the title. I understand there's a strategy behind it. Obviously Gunther is going to be the champion handing the crown jewel. We'll talk about the main event. Gunther being Sami Zayn for this belt, world title, big old belt. But back to the point. I think yeah, I mean, I think it's again long-term storytelling. If you want to be instantly gratified, maybe it left a bad taste in your mouth. If you're patient and you want to see how it develops, all the different kind of variables that come into play. Seth kind of finishing off business with Bronson, and then basically then CM Punk probably reintroducing himself maybe at the early part of the year, right before the Rumble. I can see that happening too. I can see it very going a multitude of different directions. What I really am curious to see is the Seth and Bronson, because Bronson and Braun Strowman have had a really good program up to this point, where it's like these monsters just beating up each other and just feels like the attitude era.
This is probably the best. This is probably the best program that Braun Strowman's been in the last few
Mm-hmm.
years.
Right. So essentially, I think Braun Strowman, being in this program has really proven that, he's really one of the he is the big man, big dog. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how that shapes out with what they're going to do with him, because I don't know what they're going to do with him at this point. Since Bronson's going to be back to so Seth and Bronson are going to basically be feuding now. And I don't know if they're going to put a belt online, but I think this is going to help Bronson get elevated, even if there's not a belt online. So anyways, yeah, we'll see what happens there. I really like the whole Jey Uso Xavier Woods. Let's talk about that, because you had basically predicted Xavier Woods, a Kofi turning on Xavier, but it really
Yes,
looks like Xavier is starting to turn on Kofi. What what is your take on
so
this
I
whole kind of
anticipated that Kofi would pull the fake turn. You know
okay?
what I mean?
Got it. Yeah, yeah.
But Xavier is doing heel stuff. So
It's incredible. I mean, the stuff he's doing is very, very, and he's so believable because of the fact, like, he's been getting the short end of the stick his entire career. When you're third wheel in the New Day and you're basically, just a guy who's not really recognized, yeah, you're King Xavier for like a night, maybe like a month, but then goes nowhere. This is I mean, we talk about long-term storytelling. This is fucking genius, for lack of a better term. I mean,
I
I
mean, yeah,
love
it's
it. Go ahead.
I love what's going on right now, and I think that it's great. I think that it's
Yeah,
multi-tiered storytelling. For example,
right.
we still have Elimination Chamber.
Mm-hmm.
You can have if need be, the Elimination Chamber match could be for the Intercontinental title. It has been before.
Right.
So the right now the Intercontinental title, the US title, the both world championship titles, they're all held in very high prestige right now, and they're very coveted belts. There are no dead belts right now.
And that's the truth. I mean, I loved it though because when Xavier
Come to
was
think
like
of
when
it, I
Kofi,
think the weakest belt,
the weakest belt, I don't even know actually, but
I would say the
I was gonna
men's
say,
tag titles on SmackDown.
yeah, no, absolutely. Who are the men's tag champions?
I don't know. Oh,
Oh, the bloodline. Yeah,
Tangaloa,
yeah, the
and
bloodline.
yeah. The only reason why I say it's the weakest one is because they don't defend him.
Right. And so what I was gonna say to that is, what I love with again, like you're right. Like every title has prestige. Like the U.S. title with LA Knight that elevated that belt to another level. The IC title with Jey Uso, it elevated that belt to another level. You talk about, obviously like the world title with Gunther, it elevates the belt to another level. Cody, Roman, I mean, they already elevated the undisputed title, but obviously it is already on another level. So it's really hard for me to see, kind of to your point, if there's any title that's not prestigious as it was. I mean, now, especially this year, it feels a lot more prestigious than it's ever been. I mean, at least in the last decade. So back to the point, Xavier Woods, not being able to get any payoff. I love what they're doing, and I mean, I think Xavier's going to make a phenomenal heel, and maybe at some point he might get a major push. So I'm looking forward to seeing the storyline.
Most definitely.
Most definitely. All right, and then let's kind of talk about some other tidbits. So yeah, obviously we can just go to the main event. I mean, obviously you saw Judgment Day. They have a little segment with Rhea, sorry, not Rhea, Liv, Raquel, Dom. And then basically, Rhea came, this and that. And obviously, Damian Priest had his little thing. Braun Breaker came, he attacked Jey Uso, at the end of the IC title match. So I mean, you have those little tidbits here and there. Sheamus, obviously, and Pete Dunne, not Butch. Pete Dunne had the Donnybrook match. But let's talk about the main event for this belt. Gunther versus Sami Zayn. Phenomenal technical match. Gunther actually goes over, if I'm not mistaken, Gunther went over clean on Sami. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it helps elevate Gunther, but it also devalues Sami in the same kind of, vein because Sami didn't lose. Sami lost clean. Like it really puts Gunther on our level, but then it makes Sami kind of just look like he's just a mid carder. But hopefully, let's see. If Gunther can put on a spectacle with Cody, I think they're going to be two champions heading into that. Which is interesting because they're both the last two participants that were Rumble last year. Not this year when CM Punk Cody, but last year was Gunther and Cody. So yeah, I think
I mean it does like make Sami look like a constant screw up.
right.
But like they kind of follow Sami's career trajectory. He did the same thing in NXT. Like he'd challenge and lose. He'd challenge and lose. He'd almost win, and then
Right.
he'd lose. And then when he finally won it, it was a big payoff. Same thing with the Intercontinental title.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
in my opinion, the big payoff of Sami and Kevin beating the Usos at WrestleMania
Yeah,
didn't really
last
do it
year.
for me.
It wasn't that
I
big of a
understood
payoff. I
why it
mean,
happened, but
mhm.
it didn't do it for me in the aspect of they can carry these two titles, and they did carry them for a while. Don't get me wrong. Eventually losing them to was it they lost them to Judgment Day, and I believe the Judgment Day lost it to Jay and Cody.
They did, yeah. And then Jay Cody basically lost it to who did those two? A Town Down Under? Was that who they lost it to? I
No,
think it
no,
was.
A Town Down Under, the SmackDown titles
Oh, right. I'm
from
not sure.
from DIY.
Yeah, DIY. And then okay, whatever. I mean, like you said, the tag titles of SmackDown has changed hands so many times I've lost count. But yeah, bro, like what we're just saying, like I totally agree. Like what you just said, like yeah, I mean, Sammy, kind of keep fighting. I think Sammy had his payoff kind of last year at WrestleMania, but it wasn't really that big of a payoff because it's really hard to follow the act of the Usos as a tag team. I just want to say that the Usos are like the cream of the crop, like the class of tag team wrestling. When you talk about like the Dudley Boys, when you talk about like Edge and Christian, like you talk about like like major like the Rockers, like that's who the Usos are. That's how I view them. I view them in that upper echelon of tag teams. So Sammy and KO kind of had their work cut out for them.
Well,
I mean it
yeah,
was
the only other team. There's only one other team that's made it interesting. One
mhm.
other team that's made it interesting, and that was the New Day.
Right, and the New Day is obviously in the upper echelon too. So
Like the New
again,
Day made it interesting.
yeah, that's why the New Day is also in the upper echelon, in my opinion. So I mean that's where the Usos are, and so Usos, New Day, these are elite. I mean, Street Profits and KO and Sammy. I mean, Street Profits are like a really legit tag team, but I don't view them in the same tier as the New
They
Day
they they
as the
got more
Usos. I
work
mean,
to
they're
do.
like
They haven't been booked, and not trying to go down that road again, but the Street
yeah,
Profits have not been booked with the same consistency. And at the beginning of the New Day's run, they weren't booked with the same consistency either.
right,
And so
right,
that's the one thing that I will say about WWE is I do not think that they're and they haven't done this for a long time, but they need to do a better job on the tag team division. The tag team division in AEW, I will say at the beginning of AEW, was very important. And those
yes,
tag team titles meant a lot. I would
right,
say that the AEW tag titles meant more than the WWE tag titles until the Usos won them both.
Right, exactly. Because when the Usos unified the tag team titles, it was like, whoa. But I mean, the Usos were only the only ones with credibility. Like, I don't think KO
That's
just.
when you saw the tag titles become a real prize again. Was when the Usos unified them. Now, I
I,
do not think that we need another unification match, but I do think that
mm-hmm.
like to be, in my opinion, the best type of tag team has winters in it,
Yeah,
and the tag team becomes more credible because at least one of the guys is, even if he hasn't won a title, he's main event level. So, for example, the reason why DIY wouldn't necessarily work, but a Finn and Priest would have worked and did work when they won the titles was because Finn, Priest, or Dominic could all claim main event. You know, Dominic might not have been in the main event title picture at any point, but
yeah,
Dominic has the crowd heat to make it to where you will watch his main event match.
exactly. And that's kind of
You know,
it.
that
It's
that
funny you.
crowd heat pushes Dom to main event level.
Right. Like Dom is the hottest heel right now. Well, maybe not the hottest. I think Gunther is basically making staking a claim on that, but I would say Dom is definitely up there in the hot heels right now in WWE because of the fact that, like, like you said, that just the unbelievable heat that he generates every time he steps out. Like I was watching my SmackDown footage from when Dom and Cena had the basically had the dark match after the show went off the air, and the whole arena was just booing the dog shit out of Dom. It's like he fucking slapped their mother or something like that. Like everyone just really wanted Dom to hear it, and they let him have it. And I really think that proves like how Dom has just emerged into his own as a heel. Insane amount of heat. So yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's really good to kind of see how the Judgment Day and basically how Dom has come into his own, and obviously had the Usos as well. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. Now let's talk about SmackDown. I want to preview SmackDown real quick before we adjourn this episode. We'll keep this episode short and brief because I want to talk about what you expect. Because I thought The Rock was going to come out on Raw, he did not. I don't know if Rock's going to come out tomorrow. I want him to. He should, but he may not. They might be reserving that for like a Survivor Series, a Right for Survivor Series. I hope he comes out tomorrow. I'm looking forward to seeing Cody and Roman kind of and KO. I mean, they're gonna have to address that backstage footage. They're gonna have to address Solo's comments on Rock and all that type of stuff. So maybe they'll kind of work around if Rock's schedule doesn't allow him to be there. Maybe they'll kind of have Solo say, "Yeah, The Rock came back to support me, not any support any of you guys, this and that." But I don't know. Let's see.
2 hours. SmackDown's only 2 hours, and I think that the
Right.
best course of action for this one is very simple. I think that they should, no matter what you're gonna do, you want to let Solo seem as if he has a hand in this. So The
Mm-hmm.
Rock doesn't have to be there, but Solo will allude to The Rock being in collusion with him. Not
Right.
necessarily, not necessarily saying that The Rock is the tribal chief, more so saying that The Rock is respecting Solo as the tribal chief. That would make the most sense if you were going to put a three-way at WrestleMania. But
Mm-hmm.
something about everyone chomping at the bit for a WrestleMania triple threat doesn't make it doesn't really make sense to me.
Right.
And I'm not saying that it wouldn't be a dynamite match. I'm saying that it doesn't make sense for them to do that only because everyone already knows. And if you notice anything about the last 2 years, the point of everything is not for everyone to know what's going to happen. You can't suspend my
Right.
disbelief if this is the most logical thing for me to do.
Exactly. No, I agree with you on that. And I mean, what would the point be? I mean, like a triple threat match, like, for example, when Chris Benoit beat Michaels Triple H, that was kind of like, okay, Chris Benoit basically went over on like the best performer the industry's ever seen, and Shawn Michaels, and obviously at the World Heavyweight Champion at the time, Triple H. The only last two guys who held the belt outside of Goldberg. That's why they had that happen in WrestleMania 20 for Benoit's shining moment. But there's really no shining moment for The Rock or Roman or Cody because all these guys are already established megastars. It doesn't make sense to have a triple threat match. just basically run it back with Roman and Cody, or have Rock basically, be in there and they take one of the other guys out. That makes the most sense to me. I don't see why they would put, all three of them at odds with each other. Rock doesn't really strike me as someone who's interested in full-time competition. I don't think Rock is interested in pursuing the belt. Maybe he'd want to pursue the belt like from like afar. Maybe he puts he puts his chips in one of the horses, but I'm not sure if Rock is really interested in kind of being a champion at this point in his career. So,
WrestleMania is 2 nights, right?
yep.
When's the last time Cody Rhodes had a break?
Oh my gosh. Good question. He's been nonstop, man. He came back in 2022. He had the pec injury, so he was out for 9 months, and he came back in early 2023. And then when he came back in 2023, it was phenomenal. Then he went to headline WrestleMania. He ends up coming up short. Does a program with Brock. Then he comes back with Jey Uso as tag champs. Then they have him with the Bloodline, against again re-injected back in the Bloodline after he wins the Royal Rumble. And then basically Rock came back, and then obviously the Cody movement came into play to basically, usher Cody back to Rock. Cody has never had a night off in the last, like, I want to say almost 2 years because,
So,
like,
okay, so this is where I think we're going to really go.
okay.
WrestleMania is 2 nights. I think that Roman and Cody should main event night one.
Mm-hmm.
But I think
Main event
they
night
should, The
one.
Rock, right. I believe
Okay.
that The Rock wins a match, whether it whether it be against or he just pulls some strings,
Uh-huh.
and he says, if Roman loses, I get a match against Cody on night two.
Okay.
And this could go one of two ways. Either Roman screws The Rock out of the championship against Cody, setting up the biggest WrestleMania main event next year.
Ah,
That way, you have The Rock involved with 3 straight WrestleManias, and you have it to where you're not jumbling your story up. Why waste the match? Why waste Rock versus Cody? Why waste Rock versus Roman? Why waste Roman versus Cody? Again, why waste those matches when you can spread it out across 2 years or 3 years or two to three WrestleManias? Like, there doesn't need to be a Rock versus Roman payoff right now, and that's one thing that I think that WWE is. There doesn't need to be a Rock versus Roman payoff. Rock versus Roman payoff could come at, I don't know, what's being billed as the biggest SummerSlam ever because it's 2 nights in
right.
Minnesota. I
100%. No,
would
I
pay
totally
off
agree.
Rock versus Roman at SummerSlam. I'd pay it off. I'd pay off Rock versus Roman at SummerSlam, or I would keep Roman away from Cody altogether, have Cody face someone else, and have Rock versus Roman for whatever feud they're in. If,
Right. Yeah, go ahead.
if you want to do that. But a triple threat, I don't think that's a good idea.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with all your tip, kind of, fantasy booking, right there for this, for the undisputed title. I just need to see kind of what's going to happen tomorrow. I mean, because that's going to kind of start setting the tone for the Road to Survivor Series. I mean, obviously you have Crown Jewel coming up, but Crown Jewel is just a consolation event. It's more of just like kind of like, it's not really like in one of the big four. It's just kind of like, okay, here's this new shiny belt. You guys can watch the whole event just to see who wins this new shiny belt. So, I
Listen,
mean, but
man, it's Riyadh season,
yeah.
and Saudi Arabia will have the biggest show of all time. I'm not saying this. That's WWE and Saudi Arabia saying this. And you know what? I don't make enough money to disagree with either one of them right now. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely a great season, right now for Riyadh, for Saudi, for WWE. And it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be interesting. So I mean Cody versus Gunther. Maybe they make Gunther win it. Because Gunther did win the King of the Ring of Saudi. I mean
nope, you know
Gunther
who's
wins
gonna
the
win
crown.
it?
Who?
Mansoor.
Mansoor? No, no, no. The crown jewel belt thing.
Yes, Mansoor will win.
Mansoor got let go, I thought, from
He
the
did.
company.
He's aren't they working for TNA right now?
Something, yeah. They signed with TNA, I think. I'm not
Yeah, I
sure.
think both of them signed with TNA, both the maximum male models.
Yeah, except for LA Knight, bro. And oh, that's what I wanted to say.
Maxine's doing good too. She's getting better at wrestling.
She's getting better. But let's talk about what do you think about somehow LA Knight versus The Rock somehow, some way. Maybe just like a promo battle. Oh my god, that
I
excites me
don't.
so much.
It's funny that you shared this today, but if you go back in time to the Attitude Era,
Hmm.
half of your show was one guy standing on stage, the other guy standing in the ring. They're jabbing at each other the entire time. And
Right,
that's all the way back to like Shawn Michaels and Hart.
right.
Because remember, Shawn
Yeah,
Michaels and Bret Hart are the ones that kind of started that type of jawing. You know,
they did. They did
Bret would
because
be giving
you
a
had
promo, and Shawn would either
yeah,
come out or go on the Titantron as it was called back then, and
yeah.
they would have a verbal sparring match, during that period of time. I personally think that I would like to see a Rock versus LA Knight. Um, there's only one thing about LA Knight that I do not like is he has the uncompromising edge that doesn't really let you cheer him as much as you would like to.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like this: when Stone Cold Steve Austin was a face, but a tweener face,
Hmm.
he had his edge, but he always didn't go at the faces as much. LA Knight gives it 150 miles per hour to everyone.
Right.
Like, and I'm not saying that he needs to be more humble. That's not what I'm saying at all, because that's not what the character is about. But there has to be space and room for a little bit of levity inside your character. And I think he has it, but I think that sometimes he needs to slow down a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, he just needs to slow down just a little, just a tad bit, and deliver, because I think he jumps the gun a little bit, even on his own spots when he's hitting his promos.
100%. I mean, there's definitely room for improvement, but he is fucking so entertaining.
He's
Golly.
phenomenal. He's
I just
phenomenal. What I
I
think
just
we're gonna see is him versus AJ Styles.
I just remember when I went to go see SmackDown last year, and then John Cena had the little bit with the Bloodline, in September, right before Survivor Series or whatever it was, or I forgot what preview it was. They basically had John Cena, and then LA Knight decided to be his tag team partner. And then LA Knight, which is just, he comes out and then he supports Cena. And then, I mean, LA Knight, I mean, like the way he moved and all those moveset, like you would not think the guy's in his 40s. I mean, he was moving like he was younger than me, like his early 30s. I mean, he looks great. He's phenomenal as a promo cutter. He's improved drastically in the ring. I love his charisma. And I think, everyone calls him a Dwayne Rock Johnson ripoff. I think it's time to prepare. It's time to put the two against each other. Kind of like what we saw with Cena against Rock, but this one will be better because I think LA Knight is just another level of like hot as a face. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, man, it's gonna be fire. I'm looking forward to SmackDown more than tonight. I mean, I'm an Irish fan. I'm excited for tonight. Hopefully, the Irish can win, but I am hyped for tomorrow, man. I mean, to see the fallout from Bad Blood and kind of the build of the Crown Jewel, and then obviously Survivor Series. So I think we can adjourn today early, y'all. We got our picks for Thursday Night Football. We woke up now as winning. You got our predictions for SmackDown, and we got our predictions for WrestleMania next year. But we're going to keep talking about that till we actually get there. Any final thoughts for adjourn today, partner?
I just want to know, like, okay, we have a bunch of title belts, we have a bunch of champions,
Mm-hmm.
and I I just want that the one thing that I will say is under Triple H's booking, not every championship is booked like as the prize. And I think that's the one
Mm-hmm.
thing I miss about the Attitude Era is we literally cared about every championship.
Right.
And they put on as if every championship was majorly important. I think the wrestlers themselves in this era don't do that. I
Right.
think there's way too much belt throwing. I think there's way too much like disrespecting of titles. Now, don't get me wrong. I understood why Roman did it because that was his character. And it only worked because he felt like he owned everything, not just these title belts, but he felt like he owned everything. And when he came back, his promo proved it too. He said, "This is my WWE,"
Yeah,
and,
he's
and Cody had to let
so.
him
Oh my
know.
God. Cody had to let him know, but really, I mean, did Cody really let him know? I mean, you heard the crowd. I mean, Roman had them. The thing is, like we talked about, previous, a few episodes ago, like I just exactly put that finger up, baby. Like, I mean, I mean, I'm not a Roman stan. I have Roman's autograph right there on the wall with next to, in fact, let me see if y'all can see this. Y'all can see that right there. That's Roman right there next to the Rock sign, the double belt. Like, like when I look at it and I think about it, I love the fact that Roman is back and he's back in full swing. And I mean, it is remarkable. I was talking to so many people about it. It is remarkable how much of like a megastar Roman is. Like his evolution from the big dog to like doing whatever shit they threw at him and just his persistence and his consistency. I mean, obviously, I was one of the haters who was in the camp that said this guy's getting everything handed to him because he's Vince's boy and he's one of Dusty's kids, like
Oh,
Cody
I was
said,
in there saying that he sucked,
Yeah,
and you
exactly.
can you remember me saying it because he sucked,
Yeah, he did
and
suck. I was like, this is
I think everybody else knew that he sucked too, and Triple H
yeah.
knew that he sucked, and then
But
CM Punk,
Triple H,
remember CM Punk
yeah.
told him that he sucked.
And
Remember
Cena told
John
him he
Cena
sucked.
told him that he sucked.
Exactly. Yeah.
John Cena was like, he's like, you're mad at me right now because I'm standing in front of you, but the only reason I'm here is because you can't do your job.
Yeah, like he said, I'm better at doing this job part time than you are full time. That was like the biggest burial. I mean, it was so true. I mean, it's not a burial if it's true. Like if you're being force fed a gimmick, no one buys into it. The crowd is tuned out because of it, and like you're still trying to like get over. And I mean, it is a tough struggle. I
And then the
sympathize with.
promos, like his promos used to be so bad.
Oh my god, the suffering succotash, the I can, and it's really hard to kind of believe in that kind of like like kind of like oh yeah baby face like I
Well, it doesn't
fighting against
work.
the
It didn't work for Drew McIntyre. It didn't work for Jack Swagger. It didn't work for Jinder Mahal. It doesn't work.
right
Like if it's not an organic thing with the fans, then it's not gonna work. Like you cannot create a superstar. You can't.
right
The fans can though.
the fans are the only
The
ones who can
right, the
correct
fans are the ones that create the stars. And like we gave this example a couple of episodes ago about guys like Kurt Angle who come in and they understand how you get over. You know,
crazy
like you mentioned
yeah
the Rockers earlier.
right
Michaels knew how to get over in the land of giants.
fucking crazy again both are insane so
Like Brett knew how to get over. They knew how to work their way into the main event scene when traditionally they never would have been considered main event caliber.
main event talent exactly
You know,
exactly
look
so
at Jay Uso. That's somebody who reinvented his character like 5 times now, but he never lost the fact that he was Jey Uso. Kofi's never lost the fact that he was Kofi. We loved Kofi and we wanted Kofi to be in the main event scene because Kofi is good. Jey Uso
right
is good. Roman is a lot better than good. He is great, but he had to get there. Did he have a push to get there? Yeah, he did, but he had to do the work himself.
and he had to
We could
go
talk
through
about these guys all day, but
yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like he had to go through the trials and tribulations of the fans' backlash. I mean there's a whole Wikipedia page of the perception and persona of Roman Reigns. Like that's really no other wrestler has that. Like because basically, like basically people said, like what Vince is doing, it's a war on the fans. Like he's waging war on the fans by pushing and forcing Roman down our throats. I
see,
mean,
the thing is, he did the same thing with The Rock, but The Rock knew that he had to turn heel. He knew it.
right. And The Rock discovered that by basically saying, you know what, I'm just gonna go out there and I'm just gonna say how I really feel. You guys say die, Rocky, die. You know what? Well, the people, The Rock is youngest Intercontinental Champion in history, and he will not be held down by any one of you lousy pieces of garbage, you pieces of trash. And I mean, you believe that. You absolutely believe that he felt because he did actually feel that way. Like, and I think
Dude, they were
Roman, like,
throwing things at him. You remember that promo? They were
oh
throwing
my
things at him.
God, they threw his soda bottles, like beer bottles. I mean, trash, like in the ring. And that's the difference between the 90s and now. Like, it was so unregulated, complete chaos. Like,
and
and I
and
mean,
and
again,
he tore everybody in the crowd apart. Like the back in the day, if you went to a house show and you happened to have the Rock on the house show, he was going to eat. Don't sit in the first row. Don't sit in the first row. The
right,
same for Jericho. Do not sit in the first row. Do not sit in the first
exactly,
row. Don't do it. If you know that
exactly.
Jericho's a heel champion at that, do not go in the first row.
Do
Nobody was
not go on
safe.
the first. Yeah,
Nobody was safe. And
nobody,
we're getting
absolutely.
close to that. We're getting close to that again.
Right, we absolutely are, and yeah, we are. We're getting there. I mean, again, like we said last time, highest attendance figures since 2002. Again, I think we're gonna see what happens with Cody and KO. Maybe KO is the heel, and then Cody's still the face. Eventually, the fans, I think, are gonna turn on Cody because I'm so glad you brought up that fact about Cody had to come check him. Did Cody really check him? It was kind of split. It was really mixed. The reaction from the fans. And the fans are the ones who dictate how these storylines go.
The
And
fans want Cody to. Do you remember how awesome heel Cody was on the independent scene?
oh my god! And no, not even Independence Deal. Remember? Do you remember Undashing Cody Rhodes back in like
Yes,
the early days?
yes.
Oh my
Cody's a
god,
great heel, and
he is a
and
great heel.
and I think that he's great when he's being loved, but Cody has more range as a heel because he's willing to do all that dastardly little heel stuff that his whole family knows.
Right, and that's kind of what I think. Yeah, I mean, I can see that happening. I can see that
Goldust
happening.
was supposed to never go face, never. And the funniest thing is, the fans, even though Goldust was a weirdo, the fans couldn't get enough of it.
Exactly.
And it's just because, and this is something that I truly believe. Like, I don't know what the psychology of wrestling is, but I do believe that if Dustin Rhodes would come back to WWE right now, he would have an opportunity to go on Raw and get in the title scene. I also think that if he comes back as Dustin Rhodes and not Goldust, or if he comes back as a hybrid version of Dustin Rhodes and Goldust, where they call him or they just call him Dust, you know what I'm saying? They could call him Dust all day and like basically like give him a storyline of where he's trying to show that he's more than just Goldust, the goof. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And that he's serious Dustin Rhodes. He's in the best shape of his life. His brother is there, and so are the rest of his like Nightmare family. Like if you've noticed on AEW, which you don't watch it, so you haven't, the Nightmare family has gotten small. You
Okay.
know, so they still have the Nightmare family over there, but they've gotten small. Most of them have followed Cody back to the big company, as I like to call it. And I really just feel like he could, if anybody's gonna have a feud with with Gunther and make it believable, credible, hard hitting, and at the pace that guys like them can go at, it would be Dustin. If you inserted Dustin into there, like have you can have Dustin in that scene, you could have Chad Gable in that scene. Like you literally can have 5 or 6 guys that rotate, just like they did in the '90s. 5 or 6 guys rotating and hovering around those world championships, and not just
Right.
1 or 2 guys. And I think that's what happened over the last like year is we got so focused on like 2 guys that we stopped caring about everyone else.
Exactly. And I think to that point, I mean, you say I don't watch it, but I do remember AEW Double or Nothing. I do remember Cody
Yeah,
Rhodes versus Dustin Rhodes.
you watched the beginning.
I
You
did.
watched it. You watched
I
it up until I want to say when Cody lost that match. That in the stipulation was if he lost the match, he could never challenge for the title again.
right. I kind of lost interest because I felt, and I'm not alone in this opinion. I thought Cody, and I still think Cody was the heart and soul of AEW. And
I mean, that was pretty obvious.
right. And the fact that he wasn't getting his championship opportunities, And I mean, I'm not saying like, it was the fans or, I mean, maybe it's Tony, I really think there was just a lot of different elements at the time. I mean, maybe just like, they're confused because obviously Jericho, they wanted Mox to get over. They wanted to kind of promote a brand that's like more hardcore, more adult themed. So it made sense to put the belt on Mox as opposed to put on Cody. But I mean, Cody was always a superstar, man. Like not always from like his onset of WWE, but he always showed that he had it. And of course, he was dealt. I mean, literally, I mean, what's the saying? Like when life gives you lemon, make lemons make lemonade. Cody did that. He
Yep,
was just literally the stalwart company man. And I watched Double or Nothing, and that match between Dustin Rhodes and Cody Rhodes, that match single handedly defined and actually saved AEW. That was the match of AEW. Um, Dustin Rhodes. I mean, you still remember the images, like some of those iconic images of pro wrestling. Dustin Rhodes being covered in blood, his face just red. I mean, it's incredible. Um, so
it
I
is.
mean,
It is incredible, and I think that no offense to Tony Khan, I'm proud of him for taking a chance and fighting against the Fed. You know what I'm saying? Even though I'm still calling it the Fed,
yeah.
but I think that Tony's gonna need some help.
Well, I mean, and on that note, I mean, I was just curious. 'Cause I was just curious, right? Yesterday, and I checked the numbers. AEW still is worth 2 billion, and it's more profitable than it's ever been, according to numbers of last year. Basically, generated over $250 million in revenue,
They're
as opposed to 100.
profitable because they're a product in an
Right.
industry that is not as saturated as people like to claim that it is, and
Well,
they have main
exactly,
event talent. The
and
problem with
exact
AEW is the booking. The booking is
right.
terrible.
And that's the problem. And I think again that falls on Tony's shoulders because he's the head booker. He's the head writer of all three shows, like Just Incredible said last year. Um, and I mean, I
Look
don't
at their
know.
pay-per-view that's coming up.
Right, right. Yeah,
Have you looked at the Wrestle Dream card?
I have not. I have not. Please tell me.
Dude, I'm gonna read you the Wrestle Dream card in 1 second. So give me just a
Yeah.
second to get this Wrestle
Go
Dream.
ahead. No, no. Take your time. Take your time. This. We can go as long as you want. There is no time limit on this podcast. Self-funded, y'all. Don't forget.
Okay, so this Wrestle Dream, we're only looking for a few things to happen, right? We're probably gonna
Yeah.
have the debut of Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and get this card really quick because I have to go look it up now. Wrestle Dream card. There we go.
Wheeler Utah's a champion, right? One of the tag champions. Wheeler Utah, the other guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then the
Okay,
AEW
so we
champion
got
is
the
mhm,
AEW champion, Brian Danielson.
Ryan Danielson. Yep.
Uh, he's defending against John Moxley in a grudge match.
I mean, Moxley, man, in my opinion, Moxley's kind of played out. The whole bleeding and everything. I'm
Yeah.
just kind of over it. Yeah, go
So
ahead.
the women's world championship is Mariah May versus Willow Nightingale. Mariah May is the champion. Willow Nightingale is going to win that because she's the
Yeah.
most popular women's star in their company.
hmm
AEW International Championship is Will Ospreay versus Ricochet versus Konosuke Takeshita. Um,
Ricochet is in AEW now. I forgot about that.
yeah, it's just going to be a match of flippy dippy doodas, and I'm not
Yeah.
saying that's a bad thing, but that's what the match is going to be: flippy dippy doodas.
Right. Right. Right.
Okay, AEW World Tag Team Championship. The Young Bucks was the champions versus Private Party. That should have happened 2.5 years ago, but whatever.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
AEW TNT Championship. Jack the Scapegoat Perry versus Katsuyori Shibata. Not interested in that match at all.
Yeah. I'm not.
And that's his
I,
secondary title.
Let me ask you: is Jack Perry a good champion? Is he over with the fans? Like I remember he had some heat with Christian Cage. Like, but I'm not sure
He had some heat that's the reason CM Punk's not in AEW.
because of Jack Perry, and that's the problem. So like I'm wondering, like because CM Punk when he said
No,
like I'm working, when CM Punk said he
no.
said I'm yeah when CM Punk said I'm working with fucking children, like that's who he was talking about. And then when the Young Bucks released the footage, it was really telling. And like CM Punk actually came out of
Yeah,
it looking like $1 million. Like
they nerfed their whole company doing that.
stupid,
So
man.
we have the next. So I'm not introduced. I'm not interested in the AEW TNT Championship at all. That's Jack
Yeah.
Perry versus Shibata. That was a television match. That did not have to be on a pay per view card. That's a lot of matches
Right.
for a card. So you have
Yeah.
the now you have the Ring of Honor World Championship, the champion Mark Briscoe versus Chris Jericho. This probably should have happened 2 years ago too. Um, Hangman Adam Page versus Jay White.
Yeah, might
All
be
right.
interesting. Yeah.
I don't care about this at all. Hologram versus the Beast Mortos. 2 out of 3 falls. I don't care anything about that match.
I don't know who
Darby
those
Allin
people
versus
are.
Brody King. Don't care about it. Just don't
Yeah.
care about it. M MXM Collection versus the Acclaimed. I don't know who M times M Collection is.
Yeah, I mean,
Ring of Honor
they're
World Television Championship. Atlantis Jr. versus Brian Cage in a 0 hour match. So it's a free match on YouTube before Wrestle Dream.
what does 0 hour match stipulate? What does that mean?
0 hour is the pre-show.
Oh, got it. Okay, so it's just a match.
So they're gonna
I
have
was like,
the World Television Championship on the pre-show, which is gonna be on like free on YouTube type thing. You know what I mean? Just like WWE
yeah,
does it too. They put the pre-show on so people get into it and they want to buy the main card. I mean
yeah,
that's good advertising. UFC does it too. It's good. It's good
yeah,
advertising. It's a good way to get people. Well, I want to keep watching wrestling because that was fun. You know what I mean?
exactly.
So putting
Yeah,
Brian Cage on there with a championship opportunity, Brian Cage would probably come out with it. But it's an underwhelming card, man. It's underwhelming card. It's underwhelming presentation. For some reason, like they're gonna have the debut of the Hurt Syndicate, which I'm interested in that, but I don't want to have to watch an entire show to find out where they fit in at.
right.
So I'm just gonna be honest. With everything going on with college football, the NFL this weekend, WWE this weekend, and getting ready for a show in Saudi Arabia, I I won't watch Wrestle Dream. I'll probably catch a recap if I do that, and it'll probably be like when I'm driving to work for an hour.
Exactly. Like, and that's kind of what I do. I keep tabs. That's what I do at AEW. I keep tabs. I don't watch it. I don't feel compelled. And I mean, I hate to say it because like, I really love like these small promotions, like because I'm gonna watch wrestlers on Netflix and I'll probably do a podcast episode on that. Maybe if you have a chance to watch it on
You want to
we'll
watch
get
a show on Netflix? Heels. Watch that show.
heels.
Stephen Amell is in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
show. It's a
Yeah,
great show.
I watched it. You and I will do an episode next about heels because I binge watched it last week, so I loved it. And we're gonna talk about everything with that show.
Yeah, that's
But
the only way to watch Heels is to binge watch it. It's awesome.
binge watch is awesome. So yeah, you and I. So next, I guess next episode we'll probably talk about heels and we'll talk about OVW wrestlers once 2-4 gets a chance to get to Al Snow
I mean, that's
on
basically
Netflix.
what Heels is about.
Right, but OVW is actually reality. It's an actual
Yeah,
promotion. You know what I mean? So what point I was
OVW is
trying?
real. That was the Ohio Valley Wrestling where most of our favorite
Yeah,
wrestlers came from.
exactly. And so that's what I loved about it because it shows you kind of once it branched off from WWE. So this is the point I was going to make with it. Okay. I love the idea of, like you said, alternatives to the Fed, to the monopoly, to the billion-dollar machine. I love the idea of that. But the problem is production value, storylines. I mean, it's set up. Gosh, I mean, like presentation, like you said, presentation, right? Like that's huge. Like and perception is reality, especially in the world of pro wrestling, right? You keep making the point, suspend your disbelief. I'm 100% with you on that. Like the issue is WWE has such an unlimited amount of money
Yep.
and such an unlimited amount of stars. It is hard to invest and look at another program, another pro wrestling show, which has maybe 3 to 4 to 5 to 8,000. Like you keep making that point. It's WWE sells out 35,000 to seat arenas. AEW sells out 8,000 seat arenas. Not even sells out, maybe 6,000 of 8,000 because you can tell. I mean, maybe even less than that. It reminds me of TNA, back TNA Speak. And TNA Speak,
Yeah.
like Bubba Ray said on Stone Cold's podcast years ago, the best pay per view they did was 7,000 fans. Like that's and for them that was a pay per view. That's where AEW is. Let's not kid ourselves. Like AEW is a mega billion
No,
dollar
like I
machine.
said last week, bro, B arenas, B or
It's
C
the B show.
arenas.
Exactly. The B or C
Like
shit. That's what it is. And
Kenny
I
Omega
mean,
hasn't returned. Like, I'm sorry, a show that has a convoluted character in Chris Jericho's no Kenny Omega, and like look at how many people on top of that card are missing. Like this is supposed to be your one of your versions of WrestleMania. Like Wrestle Dream is supposed to be like they're one of their big four. You know what I mean? This is
Yeah,
not. And then like the way they do pay-per-views on TV.
and that's the problem. Like I get like AAW has such a rabid like loyalist fan base because they're all about the alternative, and you see the all in hashtags on Reddit, on YouTube, on wrestling forums, on Twitter, what have you, on Facebook, Instagram. Like so, they're always gonna like it's different than WCW because you're gonna always have fans, but like, and you're always gonna make money because you're not really competing with WWE. Like NXT is on Tuesdays now, right? So
Yeah, and then
AEW,
AEW lost really bad against NXT this week. NXT quadrupled the amount of people watching NXT and the amount of people that watch AEW altogether.
that's fucking crazy, man. But the thing
So
is,
they had
yeah.
over 900,000 live watching NXT on the CW.
But
It
here's
but
the
that
thing. Yeah,
and
right. But here's the
AEW
thing.
had less than 300,000, which is like 254 watching their show.
Yeah. And so that, but here's the thing, bro. Like, it's different than the 90s because ratings aren't what drive revenue anymore. Ratings are just kind of showing you demographic. What drives revenue are their sponsorships, your ad sales, your merchandise sales, your
And
tickets,
AEW
you
has a
know?
lot.
And they do. And so they're still generating $250 million revenue every single year. And so, and here's the thing, man. Like, you have a billionaire bankrolling a corporation, as long as he doesn't sell it, like Ted Warner did. Sorry, Ted Turner did. As long as Shad Khan and Tony Khan do not sell the AEW promotion, then they can bankroll it as long as they want to. I mean, these guys own the NFL team. Like, I mean, the Shad Khan is the richest.
I
I
was gonna
mean,
say
I'm
they
not gonna.
Daly's place is literally attached to the Jaguar Stadium.
Right. Like, and I'm obviously, of Pakistani descent. Shah Khan, Tony Khan's dad is the richest Pakistani on earth. He's worth $12 billion. Like, so I mean, like it's one of those things, bro. Like, I mean, as long as you got the big dogs bankrolling this fucking product, it's gonna continue growing. I just don't like your product. I don't like
So
it. I'm a
this is
W.
what
I don't like
I'm
it.
gonna
Go
propose, right?
ahead. Go ahead, please.
So you have an in the world of people from the East. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have a world in the in. You also have a
Mm-hmm.
professional background. I bet
Uh-huh.
if you emailed one of the cons, you would get a response.
I don't know about that. Tony Khan has like 100 million. Shotgun has 12 billion. I mean, I don't think they would waste their time with me. But I appreciate that. I just think, like,
To
again,
you,
like,
I think they would listen
yeah,
to you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, brother. Thank you. Thank you. But I mean, again, like, I'm not interested or invested in their product. I'm not.
But
I
that's
sit
why they would
here.
listen to you. Because
No, they're not.
here's the
No,
thing.
wait.
I think that they want to understand why people aren't interested. I think that like they're having a hard time understanding it because we watch the other program and they have a hard time understanding why we watch the other program. But there's a lot of things that go into it. Number one, we talked about this before they fixed it. The production value was trash when they started.
Mm-hmm.
I was not
Yeah.
a fan of their production value. And then going back, and let me tell you, the Thunderdome episodes that we watched in the pandemic, they actually they actually look a lot better than AEW's presentation during the pandemic. And I think that that if you look back on that, even though AEW was hot because it was new, WWE kind of won that too.
Absolutely, WWE won that. I mean, that's actually what got me back into pro wrestling. It was the Thunderdome because I was tuned out for a minute for WWE. Admittedly, I was tuned out, but then when the pandemic hit and there was nothing to do except watch TV, I had the WWE network and I was able to just stream and watch and stream, and you watch it on Raw, you watch SmackDown. I'm like, this is fucking incredible. I'm like, look at this look at all these little faces of these fans, all of us, around this dome. And I mean, it feels it's cool, man. I haven't seen this before. This is something new. I'm like, okay, you know, I
I
went to a
mean,
lot of
you think
yeah. Go
about
ahead.
it. It brought back fans. It brought back fans. It not only
It
did it
brought
bring back
like
fans, it was
yeah,
technologically advanced for the time. And then now I do think that after people started doing weird stuff, they started pre-recording the fans. And
yeah.
you know, I think that a lot of it was pre-recorded fans and that it wasn't live anymore. But if you remember when they first started the Thunderdome, you could literally get tickets to watch the live show through your computer and you'd be displayed.
Right, and that's what I was trying to say. Like, I loved everything. I mean, Drew McIntyre winning the Royal Rumble, then he goes on to WrestleMania, beats Lesnar. Orton, Drew McIntyre having their program, Orton having his program with Big Show, with Edge,
Bianca
or
beating up on Sasha Banks.
yeah, Bianca being up on Sasha Banks. She was a heel, I think, at that time. And then basically, Vince wasn't involved, but Stone Cold was actually involved in episode 2 with Byron Saxton, which was kind of like Space Ghost. It's pretty funny.
It was
It's
like
like
Space
reality.
Ghost.
Yeah, the Space Ghost, like, hell, you drive by Byron Saxton, like, hell yeah. And these songs is what? And then Byron Saxton's hell yeah, like, it's hilarious. So I
They
mean,
kept me
bro,
entertained, and
they did like
and I watched every second of it during the
yeah,
pandemic.
like
I'm not gonna
I
act like I
did.
didn't.
Right, like Seth having the program Rey Mysterio, and then obviously like the Fiend against Braun Strowman and the Roman coming back, and the rest is history.
I
So
and I might be wrong, but I think like the quietness that we first felt in the pandemic, like I don't think we'll ever forget that stillness of planet
right,
Earth
right,
because I don't know if we ever feel that again. You know
we
what I
won't.
mean?
I'm right. No, we absolutely won't because it was such a different kind of experience. Like everything, flights were canceled. You couldn't go out to the park. You couldn't. I mean, public spaces were closed forever. I mean, it was a crazy time, honestly.
Now I
And
live by some major airports in the United
mhm,
States,
mhm.
and it was really weird not hearing the planes.
It was. Yeah, it was. I mean, I actually traveled during the pandemic a few times. To Chicago for the All Star game. For NBA All
Yeah,
Star.
you had a good time during that weekend.
Yeah, that was a fun weekend. Yeah, no, LeBron team, Kawhi. Right after Kobe night. Rest in peace, Kobe. Appreciate you, baby. I went to break. It's not okay, whatever. And then basically, I mean, it was a interest, like you said, it was a very, very different time. Like the world was quiet. I mean, we're gonna be able to tell that to our kids, their kids. I mean, that was a moment in history where it was unprecedented. So, I mean, I really liked the what WWE did during that time, and it was really easy
Well,
to
you got to
watch.
think
And
about it. There's a lot of people that are still stuck in it. Like I see them every day that nobody gave them the memo that the pandemic ended.
right. And so with those people, right, I mean, they're basically still wearing, I still see people wear masks. I still see people like, doing that, which is, I mean, that means their prerogative. But like, I mean, again, I just think like back to the point, like it was such a great business opportunity. And again, that's the difference. Vince McMahon and Triple H versus Shad Khan and Tony Khan. That is where AEW can never ever get to a serious level of if they ever want to compete, which they don't, they're not competing. They already said that. But like if AEW ever wanted to get a point competition, that's where they'll fall short because of the
Well, you got
mind.
all this talent. AEW has a bigger roster than WWE.
They do.
And you have all this talent that you just don't know how to use. Like, okay, do you remember in the Attitude Era? And like this will be my last point, but do you remember in the Attitude Era where there was so much talent and that
Yes.
talent just started running wild? Like you'd see 14 legitimate stars within the next 15 minutes. And I hate to use this phrase because it's the name of another company, but you had total nonstop action for 3 hours.
Yes, you did. Control chaos.
It was two at first. It was two at first, and they added a third hour, but it was towards the end of the Attitude Era. But it was total nonstop action for 2 and then 3 hours on every episode. SmackDown and Raw started off with a bang every single week, and there was no space in between. I remember you would literally have the intro to Raw or SmackDown, which was Jerry the King Lawler and good old JR, and then you transition into Michael Cole being there too.
Yeah.
And they would start off with the most energy. And so a lot of people like to make fun of Michael Cole, but they forget that Michael Cole is the greatest WWE announcer of all time.
Now he is just by longevity.
So and
I would say overall announcer, I would give it to JR, but I would say Michael Cole for WWE strictly. It's Michael Cole. So
yeah, overall the greatest announcer of all time is JR. There's never been
yeah,
anybody
absolutely.
better. I
Yeah,
think that Michael Cole for longevity and his professionalism
right.
and his Michael Cole doesn't miss a beat. And when he does, it's hilarious.
And he catches himself when he does. It's hilarious. Like
Which, if
before
you
he
go
wouldn't
back and
catch.
watch, he always did. Even when they were making jokes about, he was a microphone guy like Mean Gene.
Yeah, I mean, he was Michael Cole is like the best thing to happen to WWE broadcasting, in my opinion, especially during the Ruthless Aggression era. Watching him and Taz on SmackDown, those are some of the most memorable moments of my early
There's only one
adolescence.
era of Michael Cole that I didn't like, and that was when the goofy era between the Ruthless Aggression era and like not even our current era, but like the goofy era between the Ruthless Aggression era and then all the weird stuff that came with the Shield. And that was the
Yeah.
Raw general manager stuff, and like that just that wasn't good for anybody. It wasn't good for the product. It wasn't good for the company, and I think they just rather forget that it ever happened.
Right. I mean, the Shield was hot and cool, and like obviously, I think the Michael Cole heel turn was really, really disgusting, and I really think it was a dark spot in the history of the WWE. I mean, and obviously, like Jerry King Lawler had his actual on-screen heart attack, and then Michael Cole and the company they tried to capitalize on that. Like that's that. That's that. There's no place for that. Like so,
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
didn't need
again,
that.
yeah, I agree. I 100% agree with you. That was a really stupid dark spot, in the history of the WWE. Part of which why I was kind of tuned in, tuned out during that time, just because The Rock was back and CM Punk was there, and it was kind of cool. But like, I really wasn't like that invested. And then like the mid 2010s, I kind of just really absolutely tuned out. I don't know why. I mean, oh, I know why. It's just like I don't
It
know
was
what
because
to
it was
follow.
trash.
It was absolutely trash.
It
And
was
now,
trash.
exactly. And now you have it back to the glory of what we just talked about, early and late Attitude Era, early with the Aggression Era. So, I mean, again, yeah, I mean, it's hard. I mean, again, it's hard for any company. I mean, I don't really want any AEW loyalists out there. Like, I don't want you guys to think like, okay, like I absolutely despise AEW. I don't despise or hate AEW. It's just what it's context key. AEW is still like getting developmental talent like Al Snow, OVW, and I'll talk about this when I do my wrestlers Netflix series recap, episode, next couple weeks or whatever. Like Al Snow said, yeah, we're going to get an opportunity. We're going to build a relationship with AEW. We're going to get more wrestlers funneled in from there. It's a mega billion-dollar corporation. Everyone's like, yeah, we want to go up there. Of course, yeah, AEW is still the big stage outside of WWE. So, you give it credit where it's due. It's a $250 million in revenue. It's a $2 billion, net worth, company. But I mean, again, I mean, you can't compete. Like you hear Kurt Angle talk about it with Austin. He's like, TNA versus WWE. He's like, nothing is. He's like, Steve, nothing is WWE. Nothing is WWE. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. You cannot beat the global machine. You can't. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's
So
exactly like I appreciate what the guys are trying to do, but like it ain't hidden.
it can't. Like Tony is not
Yeah.
Vince. Tony's not Triple H. Damn, they're not Triple H. um, yeah,
Secondly, you can't just throw a bunch of WWE guys at your product. And I don't mean WWE guys as in former wrestlers. I mean the old retired guys. They don't legitimize your product just because they're there, Tony.
yeah, that's the thing. Like WCW tried that before. Like WCW literally did the same
Right.
thing.
You got like, oh, Mark Henry is all elite. Taz is all elite. Paul White is all elite. Guess what? No offense to those guys. We like seeing them because they're awesome, but nobody cares.
I mean, yeah, and again, I mean, ratings are one thing, but just like interactions, followers, like that's really like merchandise sales. Again, WWE, nothing beats WWE.
It doesn't.
Yeah,
I think
it's
Mark Henry is done with AEW too, isn't he?
I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he was. I
Oh
haven't,
yeah, I think he's
again,
done. I think Mark Henry is done with AEW.
yeah. See, I like when you told me Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley were going to be making their debuts, that was news to me. I haven't been tuning in. I might watch just for Bobby and Shelton because I
MVP
love the,
debuted last week, so I'm pretty sure that Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin are debuting as well.
yeah, but see, that's a problem. Like, hey, you got Shelton, you got Bobby, you got all these guys, but then the WWE has this man back. I mean, that's that's it. I mean,
Does it
like
get any better
that's.
than that? Like,
I
if you
mean,
ask me
what
what
do
I'm
we
going to
say?
see,
Hmm.
if you ask me what I'm going to see, if one of those guys is, if I have a choice between the two, I want to see what The Rock does, and it has nothing to do with Bobby Lashley. But Bobby, you fell victim to the number one thing that happens to a wrestler in WWE. You piss off the boss and you stop getting your push. And your push makes, and the next thing you get is jobbed out a bunch of times. And when you get jobbed out a lot, you lose a little bit of sheen on that gold plating. And don't get me wrong, I think they're gonna do fantastic work over there, but I'm not picking it over what's going on in WWE. And I think they need to understand that they need to instead of presenting their product as competition, they need to present their product as alternative programming.
I think they're trying to do that, but also they're trying to show competition. I think because Tony's just like a really competitive guy, but it's just like, bro, just let it go. Like
Yeah, bro. And it's ain't 2020 anymore. You're not winning this.
you're not winning. Like, yeah, like that's the thing because they came out hot, they came out guns blazing, and they looked like there was a shot because WWE was sinking. But then once the bloodline came back, and once the WWE actually had competent storytelling, because like we said before, 2019 was the worst year in WWE. AEW came into like prominence 2019. So like, it seemed like AEW was gonna be like, this absolute is gonna run roughshod because all adult themed, it's less PG. But then WWE, I mean, what they did, like Vince still says, like, slow, steady, methodical patience. That's
You
what
got to
Vince said in
have
his
a slow
documentary.
burn. You got to have a slow burn. There's a reason why, like, most of the superstars take a long time to get to the ring. They want to build up your
Yeah,
anticipation of them just getting there.
exactly. Because I mean, it's a spectacle, and and you're drawn in the spectacle, right? And so,
We need more
yeah, man,
pyro. We
we
need
need.
more pyro. We need more theatrics. We need louder music. We need more drums. We need, pretty much anything that's going to make that blood pumping, like that feeling that you get before the first pitch of the World Series, that feeling that you get before any kickoff of a game 7, not a kickoff of a game 7 because we don't have those in football, but a kickoff
Tip
of a
off of game seven.
championship game, you know
Absolutely, yeah.
tip off game 7, the kickoff of the Super Bowl or any playoff championship game or any game with playoff implications, like you feel that energy in the air, that electrifyingness. Like, even if you're gonna boo the final boss, you're watching the final boss.
Easily, 100%. No, absolutely. And that's exactly the point. Like the WWE has captivated me to the point now where it's literally on the same level of when I was 12 years old watching the Ruthless Aggression era, coming to
Yeah,
formation.
I have to watch it. Like,
I have to,
I have to watch it. I have to see what's happening. Like, there's some matches that I might skip here and there, but I'm not skipping
yeah,
them completely. I'm watching them on 3 times speed or something like that.
exactly. That's exactly what I do, right? Because it's on demand, so you can just, and that's what I did. I I flip through, like, catch the bits, but I'm sucked
Like,
in. I have to see it.
I'm,
Yeah,
I'm, and this is my last thing. I know I said that already, but you brought it up. I'm not interested in the women's division at all
me
right
neither. Me
now,
neither.
and it's not because I don't like the women. Like, let's be real here. Everyone loved watching women's wrestling in the 90s and the 2000s, and even lately in the last couple of years. But that women's division has gone cold, and unfortunately, what's going to happen is we're going to get another Becky and Charlotte, and I bet it happens in the next 5 to 6 months.
Right. It's gonna be someone versus someone.
It'll
Maybe
be
Rhea
Becky
versus.
versus Charlotte.
Oh gosh, Becky versus
The only
Charlotte.
way that it
Yeah.
won't be Becky versus Charlotte is if they let Bianca Belair go back out again and be her character, and if they stop jobbing Naomi, like, they're jobbing out their actual stars. And look, I'm not gonna look if you look Bailey. If you hear this, don't think that this is a front to you because you are an excellent character, but you burned us out with Damage Control and you did not take a break. You needed to take a longer break. No matter how good of a star you are, you needed to take a break, Bailey, because you burned us out with Damage Control. And it just, for 2.5 years, we've had to deal with Damage Control, and the stench of your Damage Control has not gone away. They're still challenging for titles, and they're good wrestlers too. EO and Kyrie Sane, fantastic wrestlers. Bailey, I don't want to see you with the championship right now. It doesn't do anything for me.
Right.
The one thing
That's
about
exactly
Nia being champion is it makes the title a monolith, and that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a monolith.
right, and that's exactly the point. I think and eventually they're building Tiffany to. It's obvious Tiffany's going to take it from Nia at some point. She's going to cash in. But I think that's kind of the point of having, the monster, kind of, women's champion of Nia Jax.
That has to happen at a
Um,
big show. It has to be a Royal Rumble. It has to be a WrestleMania. I would be surprised if Tiffany holds that briefcase until WrestleMania.
she might do that. She might cash in on Survivor Series. We'll see, man. I'm excited to see it. So, anyways, yeah, no, this is a good shot. This is a good shit, actually. I thought we were gonna end early, but we actually went full episode, full length, y'all. That's what we do here, baby. Yes, sir. So, anyways, thank y'all for tuning in. Please subscribe, and obviously, thank you to our new subscribers. We now have gained 5 more subscribers. We're almost at 120. And I wish we were going to celebrate 50,000 plus, but we are now at 49,900 views. I'm not joking, folks. So we're right there. We're right there. Next time we come on, we'll
Almost
definitely
there.
celebrate. Almost there. We'll definitely
Almost
celebrate,
there.
our 50,000 total views. Of those 50,000 total views, 17,000 were just for our videos. And for our videos, that means we're averaging over 100 views per episode. So obviously, whether it's 20 views, whether it's 100 views, whether it's 5 to 10 views, I don't care. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for subscribing. Thanks you all for sharing. Yeah, keep spreading the word, keep following us. Obviously, DDOG podcast on X. You can follow us on Instagram. Well, not Instagram yet. We are rebranding the page, and we'll be back soon. Hopefully, you can follow us on
On
Spotify.
X, we should tag Tony Khan.
Yeah, we should.
Hey, he
Oh my
talks
god,
to the fans on X all day.
he does, but like, I mean, I don't. What am I going to say to the guy? Like, I really think he's in over his head. I mean, like, and I'm sure everyone's saying that to him. All the fans are already saying it to him. So it's like, and the ones who aren't saying it to him, is probably the ones who actually engages the most are tribalists. They're AEW tribalists, right? And so, oh, Tony, great show. Hey, Tony, what do you think of Tony? Da, 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 da. Like, I mean, and yeah, rightfully so. He's putting in a lot of work, but like you and me, like, being OG wrestling fans from like the mid to late '90s, like it's kind of hard to just sit there and say, yeah, this is really the best product you can put out there. Maybe it is, but I can't. I mean, I can't help someone who can't help themselves. Like I've seen how he talks to his players, the Jaguars, when they talk about contract disputes. I've seen how he talks to disgruntled wrestlers. I see how he addresses things. I'm not a big fan of how he goes about carrying himself. I'm not a big fan of how he is very,
Yeah.
confrontational with the media. How he's confrontational with all these types of rumors and everything like that.
I
Obviously, I
mean,
think he's
that's what
kept.
happens when you do cocaine, bro.
Well, absolutely. He does coke, and then also the whole CM Punk thing. I mean, when CM Punk railroaded him at that press conference, he's kind of just been compensating and recompensating to kind of give this machismo image. And I just don't feel like it's someone who I really am interested in following at this point in time, to be quite frank. I mean, that's it. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like that's what it is. I mean, I mean, that's what it is. That's it. I don't know what else to say. So, I mean, that's
it's
yeah.
whether it's a kayfabe thing of appearing to be something or not. Like, hey guys, that was a real issue, and it led to someone losing their job over it. And you see now that the stigma is like CM Punk said, I work with children.
And he was right. And that's on
He hasn't
Tony's
had any
shoulders.
problems. He has had zero problems in WWE. Zero.
He's been back for a year. It's been 1 year since we marked his return. He came back at Survivor Series last year, October of 2023, or early November, whatever it is. And now if he's going off the air, so he's been here for a fucking year. And he hasn't just been chilling. He's worked with Cody in the Rumble. He worked with Seth. He worked with obviously Drew, right? This phenomenal program with Drew. So I mean, with that said, I think CM Punk is, I mean, he proved, like you said, he got the last laugh. I mean, Young
I
Bucks
think
did him
that's the
no
perfect
favors.
place to end it.
That's a perfect place to end it. CM Punk got the last laugh. I'm excited for SmackDown tomorrow. Y'all definitely, thank you all again once again for tuning into us, and we will be back soon to recap SmackDown, to recap NFL, and talk some more. So thank y'all for tuning
Thursday
in.
Night Trash.
Yes, sir. All right, y'all. Thank y'all. Have a great weekend. God bless.
So let me tell you something off air about this guy, all right?
I got you, baby. Let's thanks.